Hello, jeweler, and welcome to this module on magnitude marketing. Magnitude marketing is, I'm calling it a catalyst, because in a lot of ways, when you understand how magnitude marketing works, you'll be able to propel your business forward much more quickly than those who don't take advantage of this. It really is using everything to your advantage to grow your business much more quickly than anyone who is just relying on typical business practices. And we're going to definitely talk about this a lot throughout the course. But to get started, we're going to talk about, number one, what is magnitude marketing, so you have a good, clear idea of exactly what we're talking about. Number two is, how do we control it? How do you control magnitude marketing? And I'll teach you how to do that with the tools that we use. And then number three, the mathematics of magnitude, where it's very easy, very simple to understand. If you can do third grade math, then you can do marketing, and you can do magnitude marketing by just adding in a few other equations. So first thing that we'll do is go over what is magnitude marketing. And a great place to start is, what is magnitude? Magnitude, as we understand it, is the great size or extent of something. So I want you to think about, for example, an earthquake. So earthquakes are used, with earthquakes, we actually measure earthquakes on the moment magnitude scale. It used to be the Richter scale, but that was proving inefficient, and it's now the moment magnitude scale. The magnitude scale, again, as we had talked about before, measures both the great size or extent of something. So the greater the size or the extent of an earthquake, the greater the number that explains the magnitude of that earthquake. So if an earthquake has a magnitude of 6.2, it has a greater size or extent than an earthquake that would be a 5.0 or a 4.0, and actually a 9.4 would be even greater, or have a greater extent than an earthquake that has a smaller number than that too. The magnitude is being measured, and that is the size or the extent. And so when we talk about magnitude marketing, what we're talking about is business magnitude. So in the same way that different earthquakes can have different sizes and extents, different parts of your business will have different size and extents, or potential for size and extent. So we measure a product's magnitude using scalability and profitability. Those two words are going to come up a lot in this module, so we're going to go over exactly what they mean, scalability and profitability. But when we talk about magnitude, we talk about size and extent, and the corollary there is size is the same as profitability, and extent is the same as scalability. So you can think about it in terms of a business's magnitude or a product's magnitude can be decided or can be increased or decreased by either increasing its size, aka profit, or its extent, aka its scalability. The more profit, the more scale something has, the more magnitude you will be able to achieve with that particular kind of product, that particular kind of perfect offer. And we'll get into exactly how to create a perfect offer later on, how you can leverage these things with your perfect offer, the way that you're filling the gap for your clients, and how it is that you can seriously take advantage of gaining both scale and profitability for your products and your business. So we create magnitude marketing when we optimize scalability and profitability. So magnitude marketing, as a definition, is optimizing the great profitability or scalability of something. So how do we control it? We already talked about exactly what the two factors that we are going to use as tools are: scalability and profitability. So how do we control those two? We're going to start with profitability. So profitability. how to make $1,000 an hour. If that sounds like a scam, it's not. It is absolutely true, and I'm going to use a story to illustrate this so you can have a good grasp of exactly what I mean when it comes to making $1,000 an hour. And a lot of the businesses that I work with make significantly more than $1,000 an hour, and you'll understand how they do that by the time that we're done with this section here. This is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is a huge investor that has, for many years, used magnitude to get himself incredible riches. And this is Bill Gates. Bill Gates is the founder of Microsoft, who founded it very early on in his life, and from then has become incredibly rich. Now, the two of these people have incredible amounts of wealth. Warren Buffett has $103 billion to his name. Bill Gates has $130 billion. If you add those two numbers together, that is $233 billion with a B between the two of them. That number is astounding and gigantic. And so there's a story. One time, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett were together. They were hanging out, and it turns out they've actually been friends for a very long time. They've visited each other for a very long time. They've had a lot of conversations. They've spent a lot of time together. Now, one time when they were hanging out, Bill Gates' dad was there. Bill Gates' dad was naturally impressed by these two men, and he wanted to ask them a question. And he said, he put a piece of paper in front of each of them, and he asked them both, if you could attribute your success to one thing, what would it be? And as Warren Buffett puts it, he says, without even thinking, we both wrote down the exact same thing. And can you guess what it was that they wrote? After just a few seconds, both Bill Gates and Warren Buffett gave the papers back to Bill Gates' dad, and on the pieces of paper was the exact same word, and that word was focus. Both of them wrote focus, and I found this really intriguing. It wasn't the word that I was expecting, and it wasn't the word that most people probably are expecting. But why is it that focus helped Bill Gates and helped Warren Buffett to gain so much success? And it comes down to this. Most businesses look like this. They have many offers, they have many price points, and they have no clear defined client journey. They don't know what's happening with their clients. As far as offers go, they see kind of what people ask of them, and they decide, yeah, I can do that. And then someone else asks them for something else, and they say, yeah, I can do that too. And what's happening is they're being pulled in so many different directions. And the old adage says, try and catch two rabbits at once, and you end up catching neither. And this is what most businesses end up doing. They end up being pulled in 1,000 different directions and never truly succeeding at any one of them. Jack of all trades, master of none. A lot of jewelry businesses do this. They try to please everybody. They try to be really generalistic, and they're called general businesses. And this is most businesses. Many offers, many price points, and no perfect ideal client, no perfect ideal client journey, no perfect offer for those clients, and they just say yes to anything that comes their way. Now, what if we were to add focus to a business? What would be different about that business? This is what a focused effort looks like. Now, it's incredibly different from a general business. This is a focused business. A focused effort is an action dedicated towards reaching a goal. And now, if you were to take these two side by side, most businesses in a focused business, most businesses can only go so far in 1,000 directions. But if you were to take all of that effort and point it in just one direction, you end up reaching your goal significantly faster than if you were to focus in 1,000 different directions. Focused effort allows you to focus all of your energy in one direction. In the same way that if you were to put your palm up against a wall, it's really, really hard to put a hole through a wall without an incredible amount of force. If you were to put everything into simply the point of a needle or the point of a nail, which has focused effort, then it takes significantly less force to push through. And so when you have focused effort, you have actions that are all dedicated towards the same goal. Everything is consistent. Everything has a correlation to the other parts. Everything is working in the same direction, and you can get much farther, much, much faster. So between this one and this one, which one do you think is going to reach that goal first? Who's going to win? This one is the focused one. Focused efforts always outperform generalized, scatterbrained efforts. General businesses are always beat out by focused businesses. So how do we focus on what matters? Here we have a scale, and on the scale on the left side, you'll see we have a number. This is dollar amounts based on how much a person is making. And from the bottom, you can see that we start throughout the day at 8 a.m. and we end at 4 p.m. This is a work day. And on the work day, you could make, let's say here, we have a general amount of money around, say, $70 an hour. So this is how we normally think about business. And normally when we talk about how much do you make, it could either be how much do you make per year, what's your salary, or how much do you make per month. And it can also be how much do you make per hour. Now, if we break things down into this idea of how much do you make per hour, and we say $70 an hour, then it's nice, clean, easy to understand. But in reality, this is not how we make money. And the fact that we've thought about making money in this regard is it's really misleading, actually. And so here's what it really looks like throughout your day, throughout the day of most of my clients. So let's say it's 8 a.m. and you're actually not doing anything to make any money at all in the morning. You're getting there, all you're doing is opening some doors, you're drinking your coffee, you're turning on some systems, you're opening your safe, you're not doing anything that's producing any sort of profit whatsoever, because if you were to do those things over and over again, you'd make no profit. Those are not the actions that are bringing in a profit. But let's say someone comes in around 9 or around 8:30 a.m. and they need a watch battery. Well, you sell them a watch battery, and so you get $15, $20 for that watch battery. But then you go back to doing what you were doing before, and next thing you know, you're not making any money. It's back to $0. No more money is coming in. Well, just a little bit later, someone comes in and they need a repair to be picked up. And so that repair costs them $497, and they come in, and during that time, you're preparing the repair, you're calling them so that they can come in, and then at the pinnacle, they end up paying $497. And then immediately after that, it drops back down. And then for the next little bit of time, you're doing little tasks here and there that are getting rid of jobs and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden at about 12:30, someone on their lunch break comes in and says, "Hey, Mother's Day is right around the corner. I really need something for my mom. How much does this bracelet cost right here?" And it's $1,241. And so they come in, and within just a minute or two, they end up buying that bracelet for $1,241. And then immediately they leave, and it drops back down. You're not making as much money before. You just go back to those tasks that you were working on before. And then you hit a lull. You're tired. Now you need lunch, and so you're eating lunch and naturally making $0, because if you were just to continue doing those tasks over and over again, you would not make any money from them. And then you go back up, because at the end of the day, there are a couple other people that are going to be coming in. They're going to be picking up repairs. They're going to be working until 3 p.m. and then they get off and then they can come in and they can pick some things up. And so you have a few more sales, and then then they leave, and just before you close, it drops back down and you're making $0 an hour because all you're doing is packing up your stuff, putting the jewelry back in the safe, and leaving. And this is what a real workday looks like. If you own a business, you can see it this way, and it's totally true. Sometimes the amount that you make back for a single action is more than $1,000, and sometimes it's $0. This right here is what $1,000 looks like. And if you were to take the average of that little hour right there, then you would have made $1,000 in that 1 hour. But there are other hours where you're making $0 an hour. And to look at things in such a simple way of, oh, I make $70 an hour, I make $100 an hour, is misleading, because it's not true for any business that it has a steady income every single hour based on every single action. Rather, there are other actions that you can take that make a lot of money and other actions that make no money whatsoever or even cost you money. So how do we focus our time on highly profitable actions? And let's go back. This is what most businesses look like. They're pulled in 1,000 different directions, most of those making no money whatsoever, just a few of them making some money, and their goal is only hardly ever being hit. They are hoping for a lot of their profit to come in, and they're hoping that they can make $1,000 an hour, but oftentimes they're not. And to be honest, most of the businesses that I work with, this is a lot of what they do. And what I help them to do is take their scatterbrained approach, their generalized approach, and to say, let's create a system that allows for this, for focus. And that's what I'm going to help you to do. That's what's allowed us to get more than $1 million a year in my family business. That's what's allowed us to get countless appointments. That's what has allowed us to get complete freedom of our schedule, so that we're able to take vacations, we're able to go wherever we want to and make as much money as we want to. It's what's allowed me the ability to buy a house on Hawaii. It's allowed me to say, what is it that is making me the most money? How do I do more of that? And how is it that I can be completely focused on only the things that matter the most? And I'm going to teach you how to do that. But remember, most businesses look like this. And a lot of the businesses I work with actually make significantly more than $1,000 an hour. They make $1,500. They make sometimes $10,000, sometimes $25,000 in an hour. And wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't you like to make $25,000 an hour? So again, how do we focus our time on highly profitable actions? Well, number one, we're going to identify the actions and the types of work that bring the biggest profit. Remember, we're talking about magnitude here. Magnitude is both profitability and scalability. And profitability is the size of something. In this case, it's the size of a sale. So we're going to identify those actions, those things, whether it's taking a credit card, whether it is selling diamonds, whether it is doing custom, that brings in the biggest profit. We're going to identify the actions and the types of work that bring in that profit. And then we're going to figure out how you got that work in the first place. Something has been working. Maybe not even very well, but something has been working. And we're going to make sure that we understand exactly how you got it in the first place. And then we're going to get more of it. We're going to focus your time. We're going to focus your efforts. We're going to take you from a general business to a very strategically goal-oriented, focused business. And what this will do will not only make you more money, it'll also help you to not be pulled in 1,000 different directions. Remember what I said. We were able to take a business that was pulled in 1,000 directions and not making the kind of money that we wanted to, and get it to over $1 million and save time, tons of time. Because now that we're focused, we're able to decide what do we want to work on, when do we want to work on it. And most jewelers actually have a secret weapon for making this happen. Now, I'll get into that later, what that secret weapon is, but when I figured that out, what this secret weapon was, and then how to use it for success, That was a game changer, a huge game changer, and something I have never heard other marketers in the jewelry space talk about. And it took a lot of digging to get there. But this secret weapon, if you can leverage this, trust me, this will be a key to freedom in so many ways. And so I've done it before, and I will teach you exactly what we did to use this secret weapon for your business too. So how is it that we do focus on the types of work that bring the biggest profit, and how do we start thinking in this direction? I want you to think about this. Did you know that 20% of criminals cause 80% of all the crime? Or how about, did you know that 20% of all the drivers are responsible for 80% of all of the accidents? How about this? Did you know that 20% of employees are responsible for 80% of a business's results? Or did you know that 20% of your customers are responsible for 80% of your revenue? Or that 20% of the earth gets 80% of the sunshine? 20% of the roads get 80% of all of the traffic? 20% of the world's cities have 80% of the world's population? 20% of a company's products or services are responsible for 80% of its profits? And these numbers are real. They're true. They are absolutely true. On average, this is how things truly look. And what we're talking about here is called the Pareto principle. It's a huge part of magnitude marketing. The Pareto principle states that for many outcomes, roughly 80% of the consequences come from 20% of the causes. So again, cause and effect. There are some causes that create much bigger effects. And in the Pareto principle, you see that this is just a world law. 80%, 20. And a lot of times you'll hear it called the 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle. And we'll talk about this 80-20 principle quite a lot in this. But how do you use this 80-20 principle for you? So how do we focus our time on highly profitable actions? And I'm going to help you by going through the Magnitude Marketing Guide. And this is where I walk all of my clients through this, and you'll be able to go through it too with me. And we'll go through this Magnitude Marketing Guide. If you look under this video, then you'll see a link to be able to go through that. And I'll help you to be able to focus all of your effort on things that truly are making you the most money, so we can get highly focused on what it is that you need to do so you can be making $1,000, $2,000, $25,000 an hour. Now again, let's go back. We create magnitude marketing when we optimize scalability and profitability. So we just talked about profitability. We talked about how if you focus on the things that are the most profitable, then your price increases on your average order value. And because of that, you have one part of magnitude. Magnitude is both scalability and profitability. So I just talked about profitability, and if you're at this point, then you've gone through the magnitude marketing, or after this, you'll be able to go through the magnitude marketing worksheet and the guide and to figure out exactly what that is and how you can make this work. But now we're going to talk about scalability, which are actions that have massive results. So profitability is the size of something, and scalability is the extent of something. So back to the 80-20 principle. Remember these two statistics. 20% of a company's products or services are responsible for 80% of its profits. And 20% of your customers are responsible for 80% of your revenue. And we can actually break this down even more. If you 80-20, and you take that 20% and you break that down into its own 80-20, and you separate that 20% into 80% and 20%, what you end up with is 96.4, which is 80-20 squared. So 80-20 squared states that 4% of a company's products or services are responsible for 96% of its profits. And 4% of your customers are responsible for 96% of your revenue. So when we look at this 4% is really just a small slice. It's a sliver that represents a much greater whole or a demographic. This right here, this 4% that is making up 96% of your profits, we call that demographic or that psychographic your ideal client. And the population, even if it's just 3 or 4 people that you have, the population could be anywhere from 1,000 people to 100,000 plus who are just like that 4% that you currently serve. So we do this all the time with my clients, and they have points of sale and they have the ability to look back at their records. And we can very, very clearly see that 80-20 and 80-20 squared is very accurate for their business and judging not only what actions make them the most money per hour, but also who it is that is paying them the most money. So scalability is the ability to increase the amount of units sold or tasks completed. So how do we serve the greatest number of people? Remember, that 4% that you have right now might only be 2 or 3 people. It might only be 4 or 5 people. In my mom's business, we only had really 5% of people that made up, or we only had, 5 people out of about 1,500 that came in 1 year. Only about 5 people made up more than 3/4 of the profit of the business. 5 people. And so how is it that we increase that number from 5 to, say, 10? Because imagine this. If 4% of your clients are taking up only 4% of your time, but they're making you 96% of your profit, well, what happens if we ignore the 96% and we simply double that 4%, so those 5 people, to 10? Well, if 4 people, let's say you make $1 million a year, and 4 people are responsible for giving you $750,000, if we can get 4 more people just like that and ignore the rest of the 96%, then we just took our profit from $750,000 a year to $1.5 million a year, and we just saved ourselves a ton of time. So this is magnitude marketing. So again, how do we serve the greatest number of people in that particular psychographic, particular demographic? So number 1, we're going to do sell before build. And I've talked about this before. You need to have a valuable offer and a perfect offer for your particular ideal client. And we want to make sure that it really is exactly what they want, exactly what they need. We're also going to create trust with the greatest number of people, starting with that MVA, our minimum viable audience. So if your minimum viable audience is 4 people, we're going to create an incredible amount of trust with those 4 people. We're going to create an incredible amount of trust with them because they are a representative or representation of a much, much greater amount of people who are just like them, want exactly what they want, and have the resources that they have. We're going to sell these people with as little friction as possible. We don't want anything standing in their way from being able to take advantage of the opportunity that's going to bring them the outcome they want, to get them to where they want to be from where they are. We are going to make it simple. We are going to do as much as we can to make it an easy, no-brainer process. And then we will optimize that workflow. So how do we serve the greatest number of people? Well, at this time, again, I would just want to turn back to the Magnitude Marketing Guide. So if you haven't gone through that yet, then after this video, go check underneath, and you'll be able to go through the Magnitude Marketing Guide, where I ask you a large series of questions to help you seriously hone in on what you need to do and how it is that you will start to take advantage of magnitude marketing. So number 3, the mathematics of magnitude. So again, like I said, if you can do 3rd grade math, then this is all very, very achievable for you. What we need to do, or what we need to focus on in magnitude marketing, again, is scalability and profitability. So let's use this as an example. Let's imagine that one sale of a particular offer is $1,000, or on average it's $1,000. Yeah? So that sale, one sale, is your scale. You're talking about how many times it happened. It's the extent. The profitability is the size, so it's $1,000. So one sale equals $1,000. Now, what if we were to just manipulate one of these numbers? What if we got 1,000 sales? Well, if we can get 1,000 sales at $1,000 without changing the profitability at all, it's now $1 million. So if we can get 1,000 of those products or that service sold at $1,000, we now have $1 million. And that is taking advantage of scale and scalability. It's increasing the amount of people that are in that ideal audience who see our offer, our perfect offer, and who can, with as little friction as possible, take advantage of it. Now, what if we adjust the profitability? What if we say that one sale is $1,049? Not a big difference at all, just $49 more. Now, as soon as we revamp up the scale, though, you'll see that the change is pretty dramatic. For the exact same amount of sales, if we can increase the profitability by just $49, which is 4.9%, then all of a sudden, with the exact same amount of sales, we've made another $49,000. And that is changing the profitability. So this is back to the beginning. One sale is $1,000. Very, very simple. And if we can affect both of those, then all of a sudden, when we have 1,000 sales, we have $1,049,000. So how about we affect that scalability? What if we can get 3,000 sales? Well, now we have $3 million. We've just improved everything by getting more of the audience to go through our marketing funnel and to see everything that we have, to trust us, and then to take advantage of our perfect offer. So you'll see how by affecting scalability, the amount of people, and by affecting profitability and how much we charge for our average order, you can dramatically increase the amount of money that you're making, and you can scale hugely. This is how a lot of companies end up working with gigantic contracts, and this is how they get tons and tons of clients. Is they focus on a particular ideal audience. They fill that audience's need perfectly, and then they profit off of that audience as much as possible by fulfilling that audience's needs. And then because of that, they scale like crazy, and they're able to sell to thousands and thousands of people. So marketing, again, is giving opportunities for people to have their needs met. And you cannot leverage magnitude marketing without first understanding people and their needs. And we've talked about this before. You need to understand where they are, where they want to be, and the gap that exists between those two. And we get into both of those and exactly how to understand that in our ideal client avatar and messaging guides, where I walk you through exactly what it is that you're supposed to do, how you can figure this out for your business in particular, and how you can take advantage of this. Again, we create magnitude marketing when we optimize scalability and profitability. Scalability and profitability, when they are optimized, takes you from a generalized business to a focused business with focused effort, so that you can hit your goals much more quickly. You can be making more than $1,000 an hour again and again and again. And when we understand how this works and then we take advantage of it and we optimize it, we are able to hit that ideal target audience, that demographic or that psychographic, and focus on them and ignore the rest, so that we are optimizing for both profitability and scalability to create magnitude marketing for our business. And when you do marketing the way that I'm going to teach you, you'll understand how you can take advantage of this for your business as well. So that was magnitude marketing. I hope you learned a lot in that, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Don't forget to take advantage of the guides, to go through them, and make sure that you fill out everything. You will not be able to succeed in this unless you really deep dive into your business. In particular, you do the hard work and you make sure that you're seriously focusing on what matters. If you skip those things, you will not see any success or any progress whatsoever. You might understand these things, but without doing the hard work and without really understanding how your business plays into this bigger picture and what your particular numbers are, you won't be able to have control of anything. So do not skip those guides. Go through them. Make sure that you're going through them. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.